This is an overview of the Celtic message cards. The Celts lived at a time when survival depended on knowing the land and the cycle of the seasons, the times to reap and sow, the best time for breeding animals or hunting game in the wildwood, or the months when the salmon returned from the open sea to make their way upriver. Attuned as they were to the ebb and flow of nature for their survival, the Celts rejoiced in life, enjoying all its riches and pleasures. They often used divination when important decisions were to be taken, and the Druids, their intellectual elite, were famed for their skill in interpreting omens. The Celts had a deep love and respect for the land. It was seen as the Great Mother, nurturing and sustaining all her children, human, animal, and plant. Every element of Celtic life was imbued with a sense of the sacred, and every feature of the landscape had its own spirit of place, usually envisioned as a god or more commonly as a goddess. From the healing springs to the sacred groves, these beautiful nature deities guarded and guided the people who came to them for help, for enlightenment, and for hope. Each god and goddess had his or her own symbol, attributes, and totem animal given special reverence by the local inhabitants. The Celts learned constantly from their environment. The animals around them showed them ways of reacting to life, whether solving problems or profiting from opportunities. Would it be better to make a swift escape like the stag, or stand their ground and fight like the boar? Work hard like the beaver, or spend time in cheerful play like the otter? Move with silent, deadly grace like a heron, or pounce like the wildcat? Each creature had something to recommend it, a lesson to impart. The changing seasons taught them to accept the natural cycles of life and gave hope of rebirth, just as the sun grew strong again to give warmth to the world after the dark days of Yule. The cycles of the moon and the wheeling of the stars around the fixed northern star bestowed a familiar grace to the hours of darkness and a comforting routine to the turning of the year despite the changes within their own community. The tools they used shaped their nature as well as their world. They could be proficient with sword, shield, and chariot as they were with loom, harp, and gaming board. Warrior fought warrior in trials of skill and strength to keep themselves alert and ready to face threats from outside. They also fought neighboring communities in displays of one-upmanship. Most importantly, they fought those who tried to take their lands, as many an invading army was to discover. We can learn about the richness of Celtic life from their tales, songs, and later writings, and from their exquisite jewelry and other artifacts. They wove wool and linen into brightly colored patterns for their distinctive clothing, and they lightened their fair or red hair with lime to make it yellow. They relished feasting, singing, and carousing as a celebration of their lives. Their lawgivers and seers, the Druids, were in demand throughout the Celtic world, and their bards or poets were held in high regard. They were not only artists, they were practical people too: farmers, hunters, miners, and metalworkers, seafarers, and horse riders. Men and women were, in the main, considered equal, whether Druid, warrior, bard, or laborer. If a person could do the work, their gender was no barrier. The harmony and meaning they found in everything that surrounded them can teach us a profound lesson today about how to listen with our hearts rather than our minds, to feel as well as to think. These cards can help you rediscover a connection to the natural cycles of the world. There are no negative cards in this pack. Celtic life had its dark times, certainly, as well as its days of light and laughter, but the Celts knew that without sadness there would be no balance and no way to truly appreciate the happier times that always follow. The place cards symbolize where you are or where you ought to be. This can be a spiritual or emotional location as much as a physical one. The helper cards symbolize people and their qualities. This may be a person who can help you or the sort of help you need to offer another, depending on your reason for seeking guidance from the cards. The tool cards symbolize forces outside yourself, the actions you must take, or the tools, physical, mental, or spiritual, you must use in order to accomplish your aims. The totem cards represent animals that were sacred to the Celts. They symbolize the quality each animal was revered for, which you can draw on to resolve your problems, achieve your goals, and aid your journey through life. Think of the cards as friends who will offer advice when asked. There will be a video for each individual card. Phrase a question in your mind. Do you need a solution to a problem? Or do you need help coming to a decision? Do you want to know what the day holds ahead? Or the next week? Or the next month? What can you do to improve things? You can choose a card to ask about another person, about how they are, whether or not they're happy, or how they feel about you. Each card has keywords that you can keep in mind during the day. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions.